Welcome to Employment Law class. Today we look at section 4 of unit 6, where there's with major types of tort law, category 1. By the end of this session, you should be able to explain what is meant by defamation and nuisance. Identify the types of defamation and nuisance. Defamation is the communication of false statements that harm the reputation of an individual. So basically, when you talk about defamation, you are talking about the fact that a person has intentionally made a statement which is not true about you with the intent of harming your reputation, or causing the society to avoid you or put you in the position of hatred or ridicule. Now the law of defamation protects person's reputation and a good name. In that regard, a balance should strike between protecting the reputation of an individual and freedom of speech. Defamation could be libel or slander. So basically, when you talk about libel, you are talking about making a false statement in a permanent nature. That the statement is in writing. You publish false statement about a person which is false. Slander is a form of defamation that consists of making oral representation about a person. The statement has the capacity to tarnish the image of the person or bring damage to the person's reputation. So, whilst libel is in writing, slander is oral statement. Now, in order to prove defamation, the plaintiff must prove the following. 1. The statement is defamatory. Defamatory means that the statement is capable of putting the person whom the statement has made into hatred or ridicule in the society, or to cause people to avoid him. The statement was made about the plaintiff, so the statement should be made about the plaintiff's reputation, honesty or integrity. And the statement should not be true statement, it should be a false statement. There was publication. So the publication is made to a third party. That's another person here or reads the statement. So what you are saying is that when you make that statement and it is made to the hearing of a third party, then publication has been made. Publication can take different forms. So when we are making a statement, you should have known that a third party, there's possibility that a third party will hear. Also, the plaintiff suffers damage as a result of the statement. So a public figure have a more difficult time proving issue of defamation. So basically, defamation lies on 4 elements. The statement is defamatory, that is capable of defaming the person. The statement was made about the plaintiff with reputation or honesty, and it is not true. And publication was made to a third party, and because of that, the person has suffered damage. Now, you should also understand that statements made as fact are frequently actionable defamation. That means you have to leave evidence to prove that fact. However, statements of opinion are not actionable. It means that it can be a defense for a person to say, oh, this statement is just an opinion, not a statement of fact. Fact means that you know and you are aware. By a statement of opinion, it's just what you think, but it's not based on any fact. Another difference is that the statement is true. When you make a statement that tends to attack the reputation of the person, even though the statement is true, there will not be action for defamation. Because remember, the defamation, the statement should be a false statement. So when it is a true statement, it doesn't constitute defamation. Now, nuisance. Nuisance, it is anything that annoys or disturbs the free will. It is anything that annoys or disturbs the free use of one's property, or that renders its ordinary use or physical occupation unprofitable. Now, what you are saying is that when you try to interfere with a person's right of enjoyment, an action of nuisance may arise. So nuisance has to do with you disturbing the use and enjoyment of a person, use and enjoyment of property either belonging to society or belonging to a particular person. Therefore, it brings us to the types of nuisance, which we have the public nuisance and private nuisance. So the public nuisance will deal with interfering with the use of property, which is for the general society, and the private nuisance will be the type which affects the private individual use of property. Now you go into details as you move along. A public nuisance involves unreasonable interference with rights common to the general public. A typical example is whereby someone pollutes the water bodies used by the whole community. We all enjoy or we all fetch water from this particular source, but a particular manufacturer or a galamsey operator destroy the water. That will constitute a public nuisance, and it is unlawful act. It's an unlawful act. So as we indicated, it affects the people in the locality. The people in the locality. And we have cited the example of the manufacturer and issue of galamsey operators. In fact, we have many. We also have the fact that because public nuisance arises out of unlawful acts, where a statute gives the permits to operate and which has the capability of disturbing the convenience demand of the people, it cannot constitute a public nuisance. Therefore, acts that are lawful or authorized by a valid statute, where the public convenience demand cannot be a public nuisance. The act should be unlawful for an action of public nuisance to suffice. Private nuisance here refers to a substantial and unreasonable interference with the private use or an enjoyment of the person's own land. So it should be substantial and it should be unreasonable, and then with the person's private use and enjoyment. So the key words here is that it should be substantial, very large, and it should also be unreasonable. And lastly, it should affect or interfere with the private use or enjoyment of one's own land. Remember, land has extensive definition. Now, it could be disturbing the comfort of its occupation or physical condition of the land, or disturbing the comfort of the occupant. A typical example is vibration or blasting that damage the house or destruction of someone's crop. So nuisances that interfere with the physical condition of the land, including vibration or blasting that damages a house or destruction of crops. Let's consider this example. Assuming that someone has brought excavator to dig a hole around at the back of your building, you could see that this vibration disturbs your quiet enjoyment of your land or your property. In this case, because it is affecting you personally, you can bring action of nuisance to stop the person. Now, more example, you have the noisy gases, we have smoke, dust, loud noises. You also have a land burning plastic, a landowner burning plastic or old ties so that the smell and smoke affect his neighbor. And typically, let me cite a typical example. For instance, if where you live, one person or the landowner of the adjoining house keeps on burning plastic or old tie every evening, you can bring an action against him on the ground for private nuisance, so that land owner or the landlord will stop burning those rubbish, because the continuous burning of the plastic or the old ties or the smoke affects your quiet enjoyment of your house, because in the evening you can't sleep because of the burning of the ties. The smoke alone disturbs your peaceful enjoyment of your house. That it disturbs you and it prevents you from sleeping. In this session, we have attempted to explain meaning of defamation and nuisance. We also tried to distinguish between slander and libel, and private and public nuisance. Remember, libel is in writing, defamation statement in permanent nature. Slander is oral statement which is defamatory. Thank you and have a nice day.